Welcome to the Dental School Guide podcast, your ultimate destination for all things dentistry. I'm Dr. Tanner Townsend, your guide through the complex world of dental education. Join us as we uncover the secrets of acing dental school admissions, navigating residency programs, and exploring career opportunities. Please share and enjoy. Real quick, just wanted to make all you pre-dental students out there aware of a resource. If you've ever been worried about getting into dental school or are wanting to get into that school of your dreams, then you definitely want to check out a program called Dental School Guide. In the program, we walk you through how to save money, time, and heartache when applying to dental school. There's so much fluff out there when it comes to resources for getting into school, and we are streamlining all of that. With our comprehensive digital course, expert mentorship, and personalized application review services, you'll have everything you need to stand out to admission committees. Take advantage of this amazing resource that will help you increase your chances of getting into dental school. You'll want to check out dentalschoolguide.com. Check it out. Welcome back to the Dental School Guide podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tanner Townsend, and today we are here with one of my all-time favorite students, Pedro Bretas. He is one of our mentor students that we had this past cycle. And we're going to talk a little bit about Pedro's journey today. So Pedro, welcome to the show, my man.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Tanner Townsend, for the opportunity of being here doing this podcast with Dental School Guide. I'm a big fan of your podcast. Have heard all the episodes, and it helped me so much to get insights and get a little bit of how the admissions committee think and what you do. A little bit of throughout this journey of admissions. So I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, you bet, my man. We are just excited to hear more about your journey and how you got here, and then hear a little bit about what you're going to be doing next in the next year. So first, dude, tell us, we're going to walk through your journey step by step of how you became interested in dentistry and then how you got into school and the application process and the DAT. But first, tell us a little bit about what sparked your interest into dentistry. I mean, you're in your family, you're a first generation dentist. Tell us how that even came about.
So when I was young, right, I was very little. I wasn't even in kindergarten. My mom had a problem in her heart. I think she had a problem in her artery, and she had to undergo heart surgery. And when that happened, she stayed on heart antibiotics for 2, 3 years. She's healthy, everything's okay, but she had to stay on antibiotics for 2, 3 years, and that took a toll on her tooth. So I remember I have like this memories of being so young and going to the dental office with her. And the dentist was always so nice to me. He always gave me like a lollipop and like hygiene kits and always joked around with me. And I remember like her being in pain and going to the dental office and like coming out of it without pain and just chilling. So that sparked something in me that like and then I started going to school and everything. And since a young age, people would ask me, "Oh, what do you want to do when you grow up?" I'd be like, "I want to become a dentist." I had no idea what I was saying, but it's just something, that sparked in me since a young age. And yeah.
So that's awesome that your mom kind of, her experience inspired you and then your interactions with the dentist. But as you got older, what kept you going in that as you were like in high school and college, as things were getting closer to starting dental school? What were some things along the way that kind of kept you interested in dentistry that you saw?
So, I'm from Brazil originally. I was born and raised there. I migrated to the US when I was 13 years old. And when I came to the US, I migrated to Boston, Massachusetts. And from Boston, my dad migrated to a town called Everett in Massachusetts. It's like a immigrant town, I would call it like that, because there's like a lot of Brazilians, a lot of the Hispanic communities. And going to high school, I always wanted to become a dentist. And like, but my grades weren't so good. And like, I had no I don't know anyone in my high school who went to med school or dental school. So I was lost in the sauce, let's say it like that. And like, man, it was. And then after high school, when I was around like 18 years old, 17, I had a friend who's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was overweight. I was kind of depressed back then, and he introduced me to Jiu-Jitsu, right? And I kind of became resilient. I lost a lot of weight. I became an athlete. And after high school, I decided to pursue a little bit of my career in jiu-jitsu and the workforce, right? So I worked in everything you can think of: valet parking, delivery driver, construction, like painting, carpentering, everything that you can think of. Fast food places I've worked at. And I went to Brazil, I think it was like 2016, 2017, and I saw my former friends all graduating, like university, And I was like, wow, man, I'm an American citizen. My dream was always to become a dentist. I love jiu-jitsu. I love being an athlete, but it's like you know what I mean? I'm like, man, I gotta pursue my dream, because if not, 10 years from now, I'll be thinking, what if I have done it? You know what I mean? Where could I be? And I just started pursuing it, and I talked to my parents, and I was like, I want to go back to school, and they always told me, because I'm their only child, they always told me, like, oh, you got to go back to school, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I agree. But then it came to a time that I was like, okay, it's now or never, and this was
Yeah.
2018. So I had no idea what to do, to be honest. And like I looked up online, like pre-dental programs, and it threw me to like this because I wanted to go to a community college, because I had been out of high school for like 3, 4 years. And then I went to this community college, and I went to like a dental assisting program, right? And then when I went there, they was like, oh, so you're here for the dental assistant? I'm like, no, I actually want to become a dentist. And they all looked at me, and then the lady was like, wait, hold on a second. And then she just did like a little search, and she saw that for me to become a dentist, I had to major in biology, right? And so yeah, I started majoring bio. I took the placement test, and like I placed lower in math, so I had to do like a whole semester just like of English and math, and then get to like the actual level in math to be start taking science courses and everything. And I say that God always put the right people in my path, because my first year in chemistry, this was funny, right? I started in Gen Chem, right? And man, when I got to the classroom, it looked like the professor was speaking Chinese, right? Because I had no idea what she was saying. She was yelling out numbers on the periodic table. People were raising their hands, jumping to their feet, and like screaming numbers. I'm like, what the heck is this, man? I have no idea what she's saying. So my first exam came, and I got like, I don't know, like a 60 or something. And man, I was like, and I'm a try hard. Like I'm
Yeah.
not smart, but like I'll do whatever I can. If I have to study the whole night, I'll study the whole night. And but I wasn't just getting the hang of it. And then she told me, and I scheduled an office hour with her, and she told me, she's like, hey, maybe you should go to college chemistry so you can learn the basics, and then you go to Gen Chem. So I was like, okay, and I withdrew her class, finished the semester, doing taking like bio and all the courses, but no chem. So then the next semester, I went to college chemistry, and this professor, her name is Sarah Corshane. She helped me out throughout my whole associate's degree, because she was the head of the biology department, and she was a chemistry professor, and she was like a mom to me in school. Because she, man, when I tell you, I was like, okay, I want to become a dentist. So she switched, she became my advisor, and then she saw
Whoa.
everything that I had to do to become a dentist, right? Like all the classes that I had to take and things like that. So and then I learned, of course, she taught me chemistry, the basics so well, like from Gen Chem. And the next year, the next semester, I went to Gen Chem, and then I crushed it. I got A's in all my chemistry courses, and I graduated with my associates in biology from Northern Access Community College, and I transferred to a foreign institution, which was called Salem State University here in Mass, because they have an agreement with community college that you can just transfer all your credits and things like that. And to me, there was like the cheaper route, and also the more how to say, I don't even know if I could just go to university without being so long out of high school, and that worked out fine to me. And after that, I got to the university, 4 years at Salem State. So I just and it was like a year and a half for me to finish everything else. And I also made good friends with some faculty over there, which helped me out a lot. But throughout this process, man, I had no idea what to do to even apply. I knew I had to take the DAT because Sarah, the other professor from my community college, made me aware of it. Right, you got to take the DAT. So I'm a non-traditional, so I was just like, okay, when I'm done with school, I'll study and take the DAT.
Yeah.
You know, and throughout my years in Salem State, I took a class was like bio seminar, and the professors brought in a dental student from Tufts. He was a third year dental student to talk because there was like three pre-dental people in his class, and I was one of them. And he went there on a Friday morning, and I just went there and I asked him like all this type of questions like how do you prepare for the DAT, and he just told me DAT boot camp and and all the questions that I had, shadowing, all that. And minding you, this was my junior year, end of my junior year. I had no shadowing hours. I had the only volunteer. I was lucky that I fell into jiu-jitsu, man, because I didn't even know I had to volunteer, but I volunteer out of heart, because I love teaching kids class and adult beginners class. So I already had like 1,000 hours by then just volunteering doing that. And I was like, wow, so I should just keep doing this, wow, because I'm an athlete. I do all these things and, keep working. And when I'm done, I'll shadow and do whatever I got to do. And my mom, she's a hairdresser, right? And she has a client who worked in the front desk of a dental office. So my mom told my story to the client and everything. So she set up for me a day for me to go to call in and speak to the manager. And I spoke to the manager. I was like, hey, I really, I need some experience like volunteering and, shadowing. I really want to, learn from you guys and to see where I'm at and to get an insight from you guys and to learn everything about dentistry. I'm so interested in it and everything. And then this was like summer of my senior year. And she was like, yeah, yes, come in anytime. And I was like, okay, I'm in summer school and I'm gonna start my next semester soon. So when I'm done, I'll go in. And then when I called her back in December, when I graduated, she was like, "Oh, so the thing is, two of our assistants are leaving. So do you want to get a job as a dental assistant?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like the opportunity of my life, right?"
Yeah.
So then I just went in. It was like kind of like a DSO setting. I didn't know anything from scratch. And then one of the assistants, which was like the best assistant that the doctor had, she was leaving in like 2 weeks. So yeah. And then she just stayed and she gave another month, a month and a half to train me. So I started from scratch. I learned how to take x-rays and all that and some of the procedures. And I was studying for the DAT while doing like 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week almost. And that was very tough. And the dentist, I always talked to him and he was like, man, you're going to have to do something about it, because you're not going to be able to keep up. And
Wow.
yes, this was like, so after that, um, I try to like manage giving like, see if I could get it as a part time, 2, 3 days a week. But it was a very busy clinic and
It's hard to
um,
manage.
yeah, it's hard to manage. And they had an assistant that worked with them for like 2 years who came back from Florida, right? So he knew everything, and I was still learning some of the precisions and everything. So they told me they were like, "Oh man, we gotta keep him full time because he can't afford only working 3 days a week while we work the other two, three." So and we decided that was good for me to terminate until I finished my DAT, and yeah, that was part of it.
That's quite the journey, my man. So what are some of the things that you felt like as you were studying for that DAT and then like you finished the DAT that were some of the challenges or things you're like, "Oh my goodness, I have no idea what I'm doing here." Or just some of the roadblocks that you felt like you were encountering as you were getting closer to applying?
So I took all my like prerequisites at the community college. The professors were very good, but it had just been a long time, you know.
Yeah.
And when I started, bio was always like kind of my strongest suit. I was okay in bio, but the organic chemistry, especially because I took it during the pandemic and it was online, so you can imagine that it was a mess, man. I didn't learn anything in that class, and you do what you gotta do, right, to get a good grade. But to tell me that I learned, no, I didn't learn a single thing. So yeah, and Gen Chem had just been a long time as well. So I remember some of the stuff, but like not really. And man, it was tough. It was tough. And my first DAT, I was like, I started studying, but I was like half studying because I was doing like 50 hours at the dental office. And then after like I got like terminated, right? I decided to start studying again. And this was like um I think was like May, and I had my test scheduled for June, right? And I rescheduled for July. I started studying the whole program again. I was doing better in Gen Chem, but in OChem, when you got to OChem, I was like, what am I doing here? I was getting like my first exam, I got a 12 in OChem, and I had no idea what was going on. So I hired like a tutor for like a couple weeks, and then um, I started like practicing more. Long story short, I got to the DAT and I got a 17, right? I was so upset. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Wait another year. And it was tough. And this was when I was scrolling down the boot camp group on Facebook, and I found someone saying I got in with a 17. I'm like, who the heck is this person? I need to know. So then I contacted them, and they gave me one of the people that work from you phones, right? One of the recruiters, and I got in contact with him, and he told me how he got in with a 17 as well. And very nice guy, and I trusted the process. I was like, yeah. And to be honest with you, everyone that I saw that helped pre-dental students, they were charging like $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. And it's like, oh man, how are students gonna do that? I was already like putting stuff on my credit card because all my savings were gone for
Yeah.
studying for the DT for so long. And then when you had like a payment plan, which you could do in like 3 months, I was like, okay, this is it. When I saw the price, I was like, yeah, this guy actually trying to help some students, not, you know, take everything they have, let's say it like that. And yeah, I got in contact with you, and it was like the greatest decision, man. And you were like, I remember like the kid told me like, just see what Dr. Taus is gonna tell you. Maybe you don't have to take it again. But this, I think I was already studying for the DAT again for like a month or so, deep in, and I was doing well, and I scheduled for like the end of September, and I remember you told me just like, man, just focus and retake it since you already scheduled the exam, you already bought material, extended the materials that you have, just focus and just get at it. And I just kept studying, and I remember vividly, right, when I took the exam, the natural survey of science was amazing. I did so good because I focused so much on that, and then I did the PAT and I went outside. I remember I went outside the Parametric Center, and I was like, ooh, this is my day. I'm crushing this exam today. And I came back. I came back. The reading comprehension part, I got messed up with a paragraph of like 24 paragraphs, and with a passage. Dude, I started like sweating inside the center because I'm like, English is not my first language, so I'm naturally as like a slow reader. And when I saw that paragraph, I was like, man, what am I gonna do? I just started scheming, looking for answers. I got short on time. I started guessing by the end of the passage. And by then I was already like, okay, but I can't get into my mind. I just need to pass the other, the QR, and which was like another weak suit of mine. I was like, just pass this and let's see what the score is gonna be. And I remember right when the score popped up, I was upset, but I already knew. I got an 18 AA. I got like I think it was like a 20 in the science part, but then I got like a 16 in reading comprehension, a 16 in QR. And it's first thing I did when I got out, I texted you like a photo of it, and you're just like, man, I've seen worse scores than you're getting. Let's just, hope and trust. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And it was the process, man. It was hard, but everything worked out, at the end.
Yeah, everything. And I think that's one of the things that going through the process is really hard. It's like, man, there's no way that I'm going to get in with these scores. I see all these other scores on the Facebook groups, Reddit, Student Doctor Network, and I'm
About the
like,
network.
there's no way. But I think that's where what we try to do at Dental School Guide is to help you show there is a process, and you've got to do the steps, and you've got to take the initiative. We're here to help you along the way and be the guide, but this is your future. This is your journey, and we'll tell you what we would do, but then you got to go make it happen, which you did an excellent job of that. So, with that being said, even though your scores may not have been what you wanted them to be, you achieved that goal of getting into dental school, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But what are some of the things that you and I did along the way that you felt was really helpful to you throughout this process of, because you did the mentorship with us. What were some of the things that you felt like, hey, this was super helpful for me as I was going on my journey?
Man, you were key. I tell that to everyone. Like, thank God I met you, and because some of the stuff like we don't know, and I didn't even know of dental school guy. After I met you, I started, listening to those podcasts and everything, just to pick the brain of like admissions office and what do they think. You know what I mean? Even when it comes to career assessments, like you have a great podcast on that, and I listened to it like two, three times just to like, okay, I'm taking career assessments. I gotta listen to it. I think it was like UNLV, right? And like the guy breaks down, he breaks down. They have two podcasts with them. He breaks down career assessments and the DAT so well, and you're just like, okay, this is main part of how it works and how what they're looking for, And being a first generation student, man, it's like basically I was on my own. My parents helped me with everything they could financially, to the extent that they could, but when it comes to the knowledge of applying, it's like they are blue collar workers. My dad's a truck driver, my mom is a hairdresser. They never been to college, and coming to a different country, the culture is different. Everything is different. When you tell them, oh, I gotta do 4 years of biology, pass a standardized exam, another 4 years of dental school, and they're like, wow, this is crazy. But they just embrace. Thank God they embraced the journey with me. They were like my biggest supporters, you know. And when it came to you, um, starting the first day I met you, right? We started by taking out schools which were out of the reach, because when you buy what I did was I bought the ADA Explorer, right, which is a good tool, but you have the brain of like you already talked to admissions and you know what to expect from them and which schools are looking for what the certain candidates, you know what I mean? And by just withdrawing, because I think I had like 21 schools or something like that, and we made a couple changes and became 18, but out of those 21 we took out many and we added many, which was a great thing because it saved money. It was like, okay, I'm applying to these schools that actually have a chance of getting in, and of getting an interview. And by like, you know the things such as like postcards, those things like blew my mind, you know what I mean? Like sending postcards, and you even gave me tips of which ones to buy and what to say, sort of. And people don't know, but those things make a difference, man. The school that I got accepted to, when I send a postcard, they send me a thank you email. We put in this to your file, and when I messaged them saying that I was going to retake the DAT, they sent me an email like, "Are you sure? Like, they really, do you want us to put your application to the side?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a better score." And as soon as I got in of the Prometric Center, I got out. I faxed them the DAT unofficial scores because they accepted it. And after like I think it was like a month after they scheduled an interview for me, and it was like wow, And but before that came the thank you email for the postcard, So they little things, they and they you helped me with made the difference, such as preparation for the interviews. I had no idea, without you, I wouldn't be able to answer some questions, you know what I mean? That they asked me, like acknowledge stuff, be you, some things that you see like on YouTube when you search it up, but when you have someone to actually go like throughout an interview with a mock interview with you that actually have the brain of an admissions office, it's totally different than you just doing with, like, I did many mock interviews with my fiance, but it's like, you know what I mean?
It's
For
different.
her, every answer that I answer was great, while with you, you're like, oh man, we need to work on this, or some flaws that you had, you just have to accept it. Don't like put an excuse for it. Just accept it, and move on with it, and that's it.
No, I think you were so good at accepting suggestions and then going and applying them. And I think that's one of the things that I loved working with you, especially for that reason, because you're just a go getter, and it's fun to see that change in your just understanding first, and then as you did it, you're like, man, that worked. That was awesome, and that made all the difference in the world. So you've made it through this cycle. You heard back that you got in. Where are you going this next year, Pedro?
I'm going to Kansas City University College of Dental Medicine. It's yeah, it was great, man. I was training because I stayed like, I think it was like 6 months without training jiu-jitsu. I was just going to the gym working out just to keep active. But I stayed, I think it was like a sacrifice that I made, I'm like, I'm going all in this DAT the second time especially, and I'm doing whatever it takes. When you like, I mean, at this point, man, you might think you know something, but you actually don't. You just have to accept the tips and the advices that people give to you, especially if they're constructive advices. You just take that and implement it to your routine, to your day, to your methods. You know what I mean? And that's how you're gonna get, better, a better applicant, and how you're gonna get there. And it was January 21st. I had a December 11th interview, and they told us they will hear back. We will hear back after 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. So I was training right at the gym, training jujitsu, and then every single day after the January 11th, because I also interviewed at Neomed, and when it came December 13th, I know my chances were good because I had a good interview at Neomed, but at the same time, they only accepted 50 students, and some of them, I think 25 of them, is in state because they're in state school and they have a cheaper tuition and all that. So I was like, my chances are not that good, you know what I mean? But you get so
You
you
get so
expect
excited
that
regardless.
you expect the decision day, and when decision day went by, I was so upset, but it is what it is, it's just like, and I was already planning of retaking the DAT. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, okay, January, like February 10th, come by. I don't receive that acceptance. I'm retaking this exam, and I say that, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to go through this cycle again. So much money, so much work. But if I had to do it 4 times, I would do it 4 times. You know what I mean? Because that's what I want. And it's like, man, um, on January 21st, I finished training, right? And then I see my Gmail notification. I go in, and it's like, congratulations, you've been accepted to dental school. Man, it was like the happiest day of my life. I started screaming. I'm like, I made it, And everyone was like, oh my God, congratulations. All my friends and that has been seeing my sacrifice throughout this journey. My mom and my dad, they were in Brazil. Um, I called them, they start crying. It was a whole thing. All my family in Brazil congratulated me. It was an emotional experience. It was very nice.
Yeah, I was so excited for you that day when you texted me and you were like, "I got in."
Yeah.
And it was a day that I remember just because it was just so exciting. It was all that hard work that you'd put in. We had talked about potentially retaking the DAT a third time, and it made me so happy to hear that. I had faith in you the whole time. I tell this to a lot of students, especially that don't get in. on decision day, there's still tons of time left. And in your head, you're like, no, there's not time. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make the cut. But you saw it firsthand, like sometimes just being patient. And then we have a few steps that we go through potentially post, December. But we didn't even have to do those post December steps because you heard before then, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, when my interview came, I knew I crushed the interview. You know, everything that we went through, it was like because they have a very conversational interview, but it's like three interviewees that interview you. The first one, the time almost ran out. The guy didn't even see the time running out. He was like, "Oh my God, this is like we have 3 seconds left. It was great talking to you." And I always leave that, I'll see you. Hopefully, I see you on campus. Thank you so much. And then there was like, yeah, yeah. And the second one was more like deeper questions, but we been through all of them. And I just faced them. It was amazing. And the third one, her husband was also a martial artist, and she's a hygienist at the school.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, I love you guys. You guys are so humble." And then we started talking about things, and then she asked me a couple questions, and yeah, some of them were like, by my DAT scores, and I just acknowledged like we talked about, and it was awesome. It was a great interview, but 4 weeks went by, and I was just like, "Am I gonna hear back? What is it gonna happen?" And then like at the fifth week, I heard back, and it was the best experience. I think it was like the happiest day of my life, man, for sure.
Dude, it is a day that you will probably remember for the rest of your life as well. It's a life-changing day. So, moving forward, you're in now. You're starting that process of getting all your vaccinations and finding a place to live and all that good stuff. But looking back on it now, what words of wisdom would you provide for someone that's coming in future cycles that either works with Dental School Guide in the future, doesn't work with Dental School Guide? What words of advice would you leave for future students?
Depends, right? For non-traditional students like me, I always say, if you don't know the journey, if you can have if I met you in college, my journey would be much easier. Thank God I met you at the end, like when I was retaking my DAT, at least I met you, so it became easier somehow. But the earlier that I've met you, the earlier I think it'll be, my path will be better, it will be straightforward. But anyway, if they're a non-traditional student, they have someone in dentistry, I think it's pretty set forward to them. But anyway, the thing is just to have faith, be yourself. When it comes to the interviews, you just gotta be yourself. Have a lot of faith, man. Pray, do whatever you do, but don't lose faith, and don't lose the hope. And if you know that you work so hard for that, and you're gonna have setbacks. I received so many rejections emails, schools asking me to switch to another program like Man, I don't want to be a pharmaceutical. I want to be a dentist.
Yeah.
Just some disrespectful email saying like, "Oh, you should switch to this, do this." I'm like, I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, um, everybody works so hard, and I feel like each cycle gets more competitive, and it just narrows down at the end, and it just comes to everybody's gonna have that day. As long as you keep pushing forward, as long as you be resilient, you know how to pick up yourselves on the bad days of studying for the DAT, or the bad days that you have when you receive rejection emails, because can be a stellar applicant. Some schools are not gonna want you, and
Mhm.
that's just something that I learned with you and with the journey. It's like some schools you don't fit the missions, and it's like you say on your podcast, it's like a relationship, right? You got to see that if the school's a good fit for you, and if you're a good fit for the school, and it goes both ways, and it's like, yeah, it's something like that.
No, I don't think you could have said it any better than that. I think that is one aspect of this whole process of applying to dental school that people forget is that it's a two-way street. You got to fit them and they've got to fit you. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to play matchmaker. And so being able to find the right schools to match to is super critical. So, Pedro, I just want to thank you once again, man. You are so awesome. It's been so much fun working with you. You're going to be an amazing dentist. regardless of where you go or what you decide to specialize in or focus on. I've got total confidence that you will be at a key player in dentistry. So thanks for coming on the show today. We've really enjoyed having you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for all you do for dental students. I know the dentist life it's already busy enough. You have a family, you take care, and it's just the stuff that you do, it should be thankful for. It should be grateful, to have someone like you, like I said, to make it affordable for pre-dental students and, put stuff out there that's actually you can trust. And if you trust and you take your advices, I'm sure that people are gonna make it, because that's all it takes. It only takes one and to get accepted. And once you're there, the feeling is great. And yeah, man, thank you so much for the opportunity of being part of the podcast today.
You bet. I was excited to have you on. So, all right, we will catch you all later in the next episode and have a great one.
Thank you so much. Have a great one, Doc.
That's all for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey into dentistry. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice, inside tips, and engaging discussions. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and remember, your dental dreams are closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in to the Dental School Guide podcast.